Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Defion Productions podcast. I'm your host, Don Rinaldi, the hardest working nobody in Bitcoin. This is the Defion Productions episode number 75. We are going to be talking about the crypto summit that will be occurring tomorrow at the White House, March 7th. We have the preliminary list of people that are going to be, that are invited to that. We'll talk about its implications. We're going to talk about what happened over the weekend in regards to a Truth Social post by Donald Trump that made its rounds around X, how it affected markets, both on the day of the tweet and the next day when traditional markets opened. We're going to talk about all things Bitcoin and crypto the last week, as well as the last couple of days, as things are starting to heat up. We're going to start with the charts, as we always do. We're currently sitting at a price of $90,732.54 for Bitcoin. Bitcoin's market cap is a shade under 1.8 trillion. Ethereum, 2,256, market cap of 272 billion. XRP 262, Solana 148.74, and within the last couple of days, we do have Pi finally listed on CoinMarketCap, sitting at $1.81 at the 11th spot with about 12.7 billion market cap, which is just amazing for a coin that was given away for free. We've talked enough about that. We won't talk anymore. In regards to a fear and greed index, we're sitting at about a 30, which is fear, which is amazing. We have almost a $91,000 Bitcoin at the fear index of fear. Bitcoin dominance holding steady at around 60.47. ETH dominance 9.14. The total crypto market cap sitting just under 3 trillion at 2.99 trillion. And you can kind of see the trending shitcoins over here. We had a lot of action, a lot of action in the last 7 days since the last time we got together last Thursday on the podcast. We had the Zelensky meeting with the White House on Friday, which turned into an absolute shit show in and of itself. Not really a lot of action in regards to crypto markets because of it, but definitely a lot of memeable moments came out of that meeting. And the zoom out view of the global macro that will affect markets eventually is that we don't have a peace resolution. You don't have an agreement. There's nothing in writing, and the war is technically still on. So that stuff could continue to affect markets and will continue to affect markets until there's a resolution to that conflict. We're going to go to our first post from X that I want to talk about today. This was a Simply Bitcoin post from yesterday. Mexican billionaire Ricardo Salinas says, with Bitcoin, you have to think 10 years and buy everything you can. It's not going to go anywhere except up. So I clipped this because there's more and more billionaires that are getting on board with the Bitcoin thesis. They're giving advice to put anywhere from 2 to 5 to 10 to some of these guys like Howard Lutnick, a higher percentage of one's net worth into Bitcoin. They're slowly coming along and forming their own thesis and becoming Bitcoin bulls. It's a big deal. This guy, Ricardo Salinas, has been a Bitcoin bull for a while. It's not really that new, but the clip is making its rounds as we're in a kind of a lull point of the cycle. I mean, there's been a lot of price action, but I mean, we're really still in a chopped range. It's just an extreme range that we're getting 10K candles in a day, both up and down, and kind of going right back to where we started. But it is kind of a bit of a lull. I mean, we chopped for, God, it was like almost 7 or 8 months, at least 6 months during 2024 before Trump got elected, and we hit those God candles after the election and got up our way to the new all-time high of about 109,000. Going on to our next post, David Sachs. This kind of leads into tomorrow, the crypto summit. David Sachs, for those that don't know, is the appointed crypto czar for the White House. He's leading the digital assets committee, the all the crypto stuff is kind of going through Sachs. A little side note, it was reported earlier this week, and some of the internet sleuths were looking into it, and it appears to be factual. Because David Sachs, he's one of the All-In podcast, or was one of the All-In podcast members before taking this cabinet position, filming that podcast for a couple of years. And there's a famous episode of where Sachs and Chamath and Jason and the other guys, Greenberg, were kind of joking about dumping Solana right before the FTX blow up and the price kind of nuking, that they kind of like dumped the Solana on retail, and they were joking about that, which was kind of messed up. But Sachs has been heavily invested in startups. He's been heavily invested in the crypto space, and he's had heavy crypto bags. And he tweeted earlier this week that prior to taking this position, he unloaded all of his crypto, which is ethical but not required. Rich, I you can chime in on this, because this is an ethical conversation that we can kind of talk about, because we know congressmen, congresswomen are all allocated to stocks. I mean, there's literally trackers of congresswomen and congressmen that you can kind of track portfolios, and they have to disclose, so you can kind of see that they own stocks, and they're voting on things that can affect directly the things that they own, and it can have a direct impact on their net worth. And we see net worth skyrocket in Congress. And Sachs is not required necessarily to sell anything. I mean, ethically and optic wise, it's a good move, obviously. But I mean, he could have kept everything and still done this position, and it really wouldn't have been anything different than what is already kind of like the status quo for people in government to continue to be investors in markets while having an impact kind of directly or indirectly on the prices of those said assets.
Yeah, I agree. I think I mentioned it last week. I mean, it shouldn't be just an ethical thing. It should be a legal thing.
Yeah.
There should be a separate department that can't be controlled by the president, whoever it is, and that they go to that person and they're like, and you know what, you do it, and it's based on fines. Make it based on fines. If they haven't, turned over things or did whatever they were supposed to do, however they decide to do it, then there should be like consequences to it. And yeah, I mean, this is one of those things that where it does give you some faith that some people have integrity. It's an optic thing too, but it's also shows the guy's got some integrity, and like, I like it.
Yeah, I do too. I'm not a big David Sachs fan overall.
He's a smart guy.
Very smart, of course.
And we always say that we wish there were smart people in government, in some level, and this is a good pick. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
He can bring a lot to the table with his experience, and in not just in this area, like in other things. That's a guy that you'd want in the room if you were trying to, figure out how to do something. He's a guy you'd want in the room. Like,
this kind of goes to a broader conversation. I see what you mean, and I agree, and you're making good points. And I guess the job he's expected to do, or the job he's been tasked to do, which is crypto czar, he fits, which is kind of why I don't really like him being in the role, because I don't like that we have a crypto czar. I don't like that we're giving these crypto coins such a platform on the national level. I have a problem with that as a Bitcoin maxi, and these conversations would probably, if Troy was here, we could get into more depth on that.
It's an interesting point that I didn't even think about. It's an interesting thing, because does he feel some level of does that department feel some level of responsibility that we have to honor other coins too, and we have to include them? Or is it his job to determine which ones we should be involving and which ones we should, and what level we should be involving ourselves with, and other ones we should be ignoring, and should we be making policy? Like, I'm assuming part of his job, right, is to make policy should make recommendations in policy that should go to Congress, that should get passed. Like, that's part of what a czar is supposed to do. They don't necessarily have any power. They're supposed to recommend, these are the things that we are recommending, and you guys need to pass a law to do this. So, like, there is some things that would be like, that, and again, I don't pretend to know enough about it, but theoretically, it's not just. So if he's going to have his department's going to have some recommendations on how crypto, what percentage of, you know what I mean, like that type of stuff, like what percentage should we have in Bitcoin, in Ethereum?
The philosophy of this administration appears to be they really want to reward U.S. based crypto companies, I guess you could say, or crypto projects. I mean, I don't know what the proper word to use. It's so murky when you're talking about crypto tokens.
They want a company that's American based to have Bitcoin.
No, it's not. No.
Or is it the government has to have a percentage?
No, these coins, they're making the. We're gonna get into the conversation of the crypto reserve in a little while, but like their conversation is crypto. It's not Bitcoin. They're talking about other tokens. They're talking about specifically tokens that have a U.S. based feature. So like Ripple Labs, XRP, it's a US based token. It's a shitcoin. There's so many problems with that. I don't want to litigate it here on the podcast right now because we don't have enough time.
I understand. So you're saying that they're seen doing priority for coins that may necessarily, not just because they happen to be US based.
There's founders that are US based founders that are US based donors that are donating to the administration that everybody is financially motivated to be doing all of this. And that's the part that I don't like. And the fact that Sachs knows that that's the case, regardless if he owns the bags or not, is just, I don't, none of it sits well with me. And we can get into a little bit more detail about all that. Let me get more specifically. So let's get to this tweet here. Cause this is the actual summit that they're going to be having tomorrow. This was a couple of days ago that Sachs posted this. President Trump will host the first White House Crypto Summit on Friday, March 7th. Attendees will include prominent founders, CEOs, and investors from the crypto community. Look forward to seeing everyone there. And then here's the release. The White House announced today that President Trump will host and deliver remarks at the first ever White House Crypto Summit on Friday, March 7th. Attendees will include prominent founders, CEOs, investors from the crypto industry, as well as members of the President's Working Group on Digital Assets. The summit will be chaired by the White House AI and crypto czar, David Sachs, and administered by the Working Group's Executive Director, Bo Hines. So this is the preliminary list of people that are supposed to be invited to this summit. Obviously, Trump is there, Bo Hines, David Sachs, the obvious ones. Then you have Brad Garlinghouse. He is the basically Ripple Labs founder, and he's the guy behind the XRP token, and he owns a shit ton of XRP, the actual token. Okay, centralized coin. Then you have Michael Saylor, who's the MicroStrategy, not CEO now, but he's the founder of MicroStrategy, and they've been stacking an enormous amount of Bitcoin. They're almost at like 5 or 6% of the total supply. He's like the Bitcoin guy that's going to be there basically. Then you have Paulo Ardonaio, if I'm saying his name right, who's associated with Tether. Tether is the USDT stablecoin. Kyle Samani, Multi-Coin Capital, who is basically Solana. Kathy Wood, ARK Investments. She's a hedge fund manager. ARK. They're known for having exposure to Tesla, and she's been uber bullish on Bitcoin for a couple of years now. Then you have Charles Hoskinson. Charles Hoskinson was one of the original Ethereum founders, and then he broke off from Ethereum and he created Cardano, which is the ADA token, which is another shitcoin, centralized token by Charles Hoskins. Then you have Anatoly Yakovenko, whatever the hell his name is, another Solana guy. That's another shitcoin token, centralized token. Vitalik Buterin, one of the original founders and still in the ETH Foundation for Ethereum. Nat Eliason, Ondo Coin, another shitcoin. Mark Andreessen for Andreessen Horowitz. AVAX and NEAR are the two big tokens that he's pumping now. Then Paul Atkins, the SEC chair. Brian Armstrong for Coinbase, the biggest exchange in the United States. And then CZ, the biggest exchange in the world, Binance. He's a late addition from what I'm reading. I guess he wasn't originally invited, but he's a late invite. But you can see from this list, like you got XRP, Solana, ADA, another Solana, Ethereum, Ondo, like all these shit coins that like, I mean, it's a crypto summit, so you're talking about crypto, but like it's all these centralized coins that you're going to be talking about. And we're going to get to the tweet that Trump made on the weekend that really sent markets into a frenzy for a 48-hour period. But you have a lot of people, myself included, that I don't think we're going to have a Bitcoin strategic reserve. I don't think we're going to have a crypto strategic reserve. I don't think Congress is ever going to okay that. Nor should there be a Bitcoin strategic reserve. And again, I don't want to litigate that again. I talked about how that basically signals to the rest of the world that the dollar's weak and there'll be attack on the dollar and that'll be bad for the U.S. And I just don't think that any economist is going to let that fly. But that's another sidebar conversation. The fact that we are talking about adding centralized tokens with founders that own large supplies to have a spot in a wealth fund or reserve or whatever you want to call it for the United States is dangerous. It's just flat out dangerous. I don't see any world where that ends well or that happens. The fact that these guys, Brad Garlinghouse, Charles Hoskinson, Vitalik Buterin, are going to be hanging out at the White House is just, it's dangerous in my opinion. Maybe I'm overblowing it. Maybe I'm monsters under the bed guy. I don't think I am, and I think there's a lot of Bitcoin maxis that would agree with me, but I don't think this is good for anybody.
So why is it an optics thing? He just wants the Trump administration.
Donald Trump is a straight up. He is the perfect poster child for crypto. He's a grifter, always been a grifter, and crypto.
My interpretation of this summit is I don't know if anything's really will come of it.
It's a grifter convention.
It's a picture thing.
It's a grifter convention.
If I'm a guy that's in one of these guys, am I going to go to the White House to get my picture taken with the president to put it on my office wall? I'm going to definitely do it.
Yeah.
Because it helps me if I'm a shitcoiner. I don't know who the worst guy on this list is. The guy that you respect the least. That's whoever it is.
Brad Garlinghouse.
I want that picture for my office. Here I am shaking hands with the chair and the president. And I think it's a Trump thing to get people that he believes are wealthy in the room for future endeavors. Like it's just all about networking for him. So this is a networking event for him. He may have met some of these guys, but he just wants them he wants to have a chip in the game with these guys. That's what I think these summits tend to be. I don't think they're not going to finish the summit and say, like you said, it's going to go to Congress because he can't do like executive order that there's a Bitcoin reserve. You can't do that. There's things that have to happen because it has to be funded through Congress. There has to be
it's to be voted on.
It has to be part of the budget. You have to have money within the budget. And I'm not saying he can't get that passed because he controls both houses. But at some point, it has to go to Congress so it can be put into the budget. Like you can't just have a building somewhere that is this department.
Here's the thing. Here's my thesis on everything. The Biden administration was so bad for our industry for three years. You had Elizabeth Warren because he tasked her with coming after us, just hammering us for 3 years. Regulations, restrictions, choke point 2.0. We don't have to rehash it all, but it was awful. The Biden administration was awful for crypto. In 2024 in July, you have Trump come to the Bitcoin conference, say all the right things, see the response that he gets, realize that there's something there, and Bitcoiners buy it hook, line, and sinker. At the time, you remember because we filmed during that time, I said RFK's speech was 10 times better than Trump's speech, and it appears that RFK gets Bitcoin and Trump does not, which to this day I still completely believe the same thing. But he saw an opportunity and he realized if I just take all these restrictions away that the Biden administration did, I'm going to get these Bitcoiners to eat out of my hand and these crypto guys to eat out of my hand. So it was so bad that now it's nothing like that in the bad part of things. So you got all these Bitcoiners and well, I mean, not all the Bitcoiners. Some of them are finally starting to realize it, but at least the crypto space as a whole are just like applauding and loving everything that Trump does and says. And then you watch 2 days before. This was like the icing on the cake for me was 2 days before he got inaugurated was when he dropped the Trump and the Melania coins. It's like this dude absolutely does not understand Bitcoin, nor does he give a shit to understand Bitcoin. He sees the crypto space, much like many people do, as the next thing that's going to take over finance, and there's going to be a ton of money that's going to come into this. That is all true. He sees that as an opportunity. The Trump organization totally shifts their strategy and starts stacking Bitcoin, starts stacking Ethereum, stacks their Trump coin, and starts to do their own reserve of tokens. So he sees that as an opportunity. So now every time the price pumps, they're pumping their own bag. So they know that they can manipulate this market. They're seeing the value of that. So it's just a grift. It's like one big grift. He doesn't see the value of Bitcoin. He doesn't. And again, to be totally fair to President Trump, if I'm going to take a step back and be totally like non-biased, he's the president of the United States. Bitcoin was created to be anti-government. Bitcoin was created to be anti-traditional finance. He is now the leader of the free world, who's a leader of the finance, who's a leader of the USD. So I don't totally expect him to just be a total full-blown Nayib Bukele Bitcoiner.
If I was a really like a Bitcoin maxi like yourself, so I'm going to ask you this question: don't you not want the government to own Bitcoin? Like, because it feels like it's taking it away from who it was designed for.
There's a couple ways to answer that.
Especially our government.
There's a couple ways to answer that. Do I like it? No. Do I want it or care about it? Also, not so much either. Because Bitcoin is so beautiful and wonderful because anyone can have it and you don't have to trust or verify. So it doesn't matter what I think or what I want. Anyone has access to the blockchain. There is no restrictions. With the traditional finance system, not everybody has access. There are many, many restrictions to many, many different demographics of people, which makes the system as effed up as it is. Bitcoin is none of that. So as much as I want it to be for the people that can't get into the traditional finance system, that also means that it's for the people that I don't really like either. They have the opportunity to get it as well, which is why when BlackRock started to buy it for their clients and everybody's like, oh, we don't want them. I was like, this is part of the game. This is what you're signing up for. Bitcoin is for everybody. It's not necessarily for everybody, but everyone can have it or get access to it. So I don't have to like it to accept that that's just part of this. Right. So when you ask me if I like it, the answer is no, I don't like it. But do I not want it to happen? The answer is also no.
If you want true freedom,
yes,
then there have to be costs to freedom that maybe you don't necessarily believe in, but it's part of, if you want it truly to be free, then you have to have that freedom.
It's the freedom of speech conversation. I want freedom of speech, but I don't have to like everything that you say. But I will defend your ability to say all the bullshit nonsense that you say, right, and not like what you say, but defend the fact you can have. So that's where I stand. Right. I defend the ability for the government to own Bitcoin while not liking the fact that they own Bitcoin.
Right. Okay. No, I think that's a great answer. I think that really kind of, I mean, again, I think that's just another great answer that shows you really put the time and understand this shit. Because like I probably would have been, well, maybe they should have written in such a way so that they're like not allowed, but no, you've kind of answered it in a way that made, well, that's a good point. Like what it's supposed to represent, then there have to be some groups and organizations that are going to be smart enough to buy into it, and you just kind of have to accept that.
To turn this conversation back to shitcoins, to tell you like why Bitcoin maxis, to get to like what I just told you about Bitcoin, to flip to the shitcoins. All these shitcoins have protocols built into them that do allow for censorship and do allow for the founders of the coins to make those types of decisions. They can change things. Ethereum was, again, I don't know how many people that are watching this know this, or even if you knew this, but in 2017 there was a hack on the Ethereum chain. There was a DAO hack. The coins got hacked. People stole the coins. The Ethereum Foundation made the decision they were going to fork the token into a different chain And they in essence created another token. So now there's Ethereum Classic, which was the original Ethereum, and now there's the Ethereum that we know now, and all the hacked coins around Ethereum Classic. So the new token's worth, I don't know, 2,200. Ethereum Classic, I haven't looked, but that might be $100. I don't know. Don't quote me. I don't follow Ethereum Classic, but vastly different prices because the reason for the change was because they wanted to disincentivize the hackers and not give them as much of the protocol. On one point, the people that lost their tokens got their tokens back, so they're happy because like, oh well, the tokens that were stolen from me. But they don't realize that that's awful. You've just given the God code basically to the Ethereum Foundation to do whatever they want, to change the protocol anytime they want, whether it's good for you or bad for you. Which in 2022, I think it was, they changed from proof of work, which is Bitcoin, mining the computers, mining blocks. That's how Ethereum used to be. And they changed it to proof of stake. Completely changed the protocol, which is why if you look at the Ethereum price, I just seen a meme the other day, 2021, the price of Ethereum was 2,200. We just looked, the Bitcoin or the Ethereum price in 2022 is 2,200. The price hasn't moved in 3 years. It's completely neutered the chain as a result. Because if you own a token, right, if you own something, the value of Bitcoin is knowing I own something that nobody can change. I may not like all the protocols. I may not like what they do, but I know it can't change. I know what to expect. I know the TikTok next block. The protocol is what it is. It's going to be 21 million. It's going to be mining blocks, X amount of blocks per 10 minutes. Everything is laid out for you. You can like it, love it, or hate it, but you know it. It's all verified. You can verify everything. Every single other token except Bitcoin, you do not have that with. You have live founders, Charles Hoskinson, Brad Garlinghouse, all these other shitheads that are going to Vitalik Buterin. They all are the leaders, the supreme leaders of their chains that can make decisions and changes to protocols that can affect your investment that you can't do anything about. And we have these people coming to the White House, and we have the Donald Trump and David Sachs talking about putting these tokens into a strategic reserve for a country, right? Now, again, if you think of like strategic reserves of the United States, you have gold, you have silver, you have oil. Like there is no, you can talk about the manipulation of the markets, but you can't change gold. You can't change silver, oil. Those things are just what they are. You can't change the elements of those products.
Really, there's things you can do,
but not drastically change Not gold is one thing today, and now tomorrow it's something totally different, right?
Some of these coins, for example, that are on the screen, because I left them up there, like other people, like some of them, this makes them feel more legit. Like, and what I mean, if now we're part of the government strategic reserve, like that almost gives them a little bit more of that what they want, which they think is going to help the price.
Yeah, these tokens are all about price. Crypto, all about price. Meme coins, all about price. The whole crypto sector is all about price. And I say that because I know a lot of people, because there are a lot of maxis, and I'll do it, and I'll tweet or post about price at times too. But true fundamental Bitcoin maxis that understand this protocol, that understand this technology, it's way more than price. And all these shit corners will try to tell you about utility and use cases and all this bullshit nonsense. It's all about price for them. It's number go up technology. They want to put $10 in and they want it to be $100. That's just what they want. That's what they're expecting. It's a fiat mindset. They want to put X amount of dollars in. They want to get X amount of dollars out. They only hold for the bull markets, and most people exit in the bear markets. Not as many people at all hold these shit coins in bear markets as Bitcoiners do. You have a 70% plus hold of Bitcoin holders when the price is down, and all these other coins, they go down like 95 or 99%. People get the hell out of those coins. That's why they drop so much. That's why Bitcoin's price doesn't drop as much as these other tokens, because you have true believers that are in it for much more than price. So this argument for crypto is, number one, Bitcoin was created. It's perfect. Nothing. I mean, I say that with the caveat that nothing in life is perfect. It's as close to perfection as you can get for a monetary asset. It's got all the functions and all the features of something you would want in a perfect sound money. It's gold 2.0. Gold was perfect money for 5,000 plus years. Nobody disputes that. Bitcoiners don't dispute that. Gold was perfect money for 5,000 years over multiple generations, centuries, dynasties, and all that. Gold was perfect. Bitcoin is gold 2.0. Bitcoin took all the perfections of gold and then the portability aspect and made it better. Just expanded upon it. So now we have this perfect money for the internet age that has no centralized player that's manipulating protocols and changing things. You have a scarce supply that's scarcer than any other asset on the planet. All that is true. And then you have Litecoin come up, you have Ethereum come up, then you have all these other tokens little by little coming in, trying to say they're going to be the next Bitcoin, trying to say that they're going to be perfect money, trying to say that Bitcoin's a dinosaur, trying to say like all this nonsense. And they create these other tokens that are just built with some centralized player that's manipulating things from the center. And you are at the mercy of that decision making with all those tokens.
Occasionally I'll run into people and I'll tell them I have a Bitcoin podcast that I produce, that I'm not a Bitcoiner, but I produce it and I've learned a lot about Bitcoin and I have a different appreciation for it. And the one thing that I've kind of taken away from so much of this is the argument where it's gold 2.0. And to me, that's like the best way I've used that description. Like it's kind of like if you think about why gold was such a big deal. And we still talk about gold like it's the most valuable thing in the universe and everything. But again, it comes down to the scarcity of it. Like you can't and in the sense like why we talk so much about like the gold rush of 1849 where everybody went to California and tried to do it because anybody could go look for it. Right, it wasn't just corporations. I mean, there were corporations in 1840, but when people just said, "This is my chance. This is my chance to go make gold, find gold," and everybody there's all those movies and TV shows, and we got a football team named after it and everything. Like it's kind of funny because of the scarcity of it, there's a limited supply. Are there any other of these coins that have that model?
Here's the thing about gold too. Gold is scarce, but we don't know exactly how scarce it is. Nobody can tell you to the ounce or to the gram how many grams or.
We know there's an asteroid that passes by the Earth every couple of years, and they keep talking about mining it. Like it's kind of funny. Oh, we got to get that because everybody would be rich. I'm like, well, that's
it would dilute the value of
You don't understand. You don't understand like supply and demand is at all, and that's like basic economics. Like and again, there's other things on that asteroid that if you brought it to Earth all of a sudden it would change the market completely, mainly for other things that we use like silver and platinum and things like that we use for things. Gold's still kind of like that weird, we don't use it in a lot of things like we use silver and platinum and other rare minerals that are part of electronics. Maybe it's the cost. Maybe it could be used. I don't know. I'm not an engineer.
I mean,
but these other coins, none of them really have like
the next scarcest.
Like the way you've described it. And I'm probably going to say this wrong. So correct me if I am.
Mm-hmm.
These other coins have tried to take like what they think is the Bitcoin design and create their own version of it, but the way you describe it feels like the essence of what Bitcoin was supposed to be. They've lost in the creation of these other coins.
The next scarcest token, I believe, is Litecoin. Litecoin was created to be the silver to Bitcoin. Litecoin was a 4x on Bitcoin. It's technically not, but it's kind of in easy terms a fork of Bitcoin. It's got the same sort of features. It's mined. It's got the same. It's following the same sort of protocol. Charlie Lee was the founder of that. He stepped away. He's not even really that much involved in Litecoin as he used to be. But that token has 84 million. It's a 4x. Like Bitcoin has 21 million. That has 84 million. The transaction speed's supposed to be 4 times faster. But even that token, that's a $100 and something token right now. A fraction of the value of Bitcoin. That's the next scarcest token that I know of to Bitcoin. Everything else is in the hundreds of millions, if not billions. So the thing is, you have human beings that saw Bitcoin rise and thought to themselves, I'm going to create this token that's going to have X amount of tokens and I'm going to have X amount of percent supply of. I'm not going to create 21 million because I can't, if I have 20% of the supply, I'm only going to have a couple million of the tokens. And if it doesn't do that well, if it only goes to a couple of dollars, then I'm not really I'm not really hitting. So I want to make billions of tokens. So if it really hits and I have a 10% supply or 20% supply, I'm going to make myself a billionaire. And so, yeah, that's what all these guys are doing. They're trying, well, we want to make bigger blocks, bigger trains, whatever bullshit they want to try to tell you. These founders are all enriching themselves. Every single founder of these coins are insanely rich because they've made so much of the supply of tokens, and the tokens get popular for a little, and then they make tons of money, and maybe they go on to another token. And some of these founders have founded multiple tokens. It's all like it's a game of 3-card Monte with these shit coins.
Well, it's funny. Like it's almost like, like when baseball cards suddenly were valuable. They weren't valuable for years and years and years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, somebody realized there was this value in baseball cards because they were rare. Now there's a billion baseball cards out there, and everybody, and there's a whole industry of finding the rare ones, and certain ones are printed in such a way and they're very valuable and they're interesting and stuff like that. But it's almost like, they're not gonna print something this year that's gonna be like a rookie Mickey Mantle, just not gonna happen.
Scarce,
the ability to make it
yeah.
rare and desirable is just you're never gonna be able to get that. You're never gonna be able to get that again, because now there's just too many. And it's almost like that's kind of and that's probably a terrible analogy, but it's just kind of like the way I try to break it down, just in my old man brain, trying to figure out why aren't these going to click? They seem like they're all short-term things. They're all just jump in, make some money, get out, and then you got to manage it. Are they really? Some of them are going to be around in 10 years. I just don't know what their value is.
Yeah, they have cult-like communities that help prop these prices up. I mean, there are people that XRP's got their community, Solana's got their community, Ethereum, I think, still has a community. I mean, I don't really see as much about them. And then now you have meme coins. The meme coins are the next phase of all this nonsense. Meme coins are straight up, nobody hides it, pump and dump. The goal of the meme coin is to be the first one in, first one out. Yep. That's the goal. And people are even you got David Portnoy and you have these other guys that are literally making these tokens, telling you, I'm going to make this token and I'm literally going to show you how easy it is to rug it. Put money, and it's then you have snipers coming in and getting it 10 minutes before, all this nonsense that I'm not going to pretend I try to understand, because I never tried to give it too much thought. But it's player versus player, and it's that's the ideology of your average crypto investor. When me and Troy started this podcast, I think that was Troy's. Troy would say player versus player a lot. I remember hearing that a lot in the early days of our podcast, and that was his real. This cycle has been, and I hope we can get him back on the podcast next week and get him going. This has been tough, and he'll tell you this has been a really hard cycle for him, because this cycle's just been a little bit different. These meme coins and the fact that Troy likes to trade, and it's tough. This is a tough cycle. If you're not a Bitcoin maxi and you're trying to make money in these other tokens, there's not many tokens in the top. If we go back and take a look, if we go through these top tokens, not made an all-time high this cycle. XRP may have. I don't think XRP did, but even if it did, it's not much, because I know it spent years under $1 and it made maybe 3 something. So I don't think it did. BNB I know made an all-time high this cycle, but it's under. Solana hasn't. Cardano definitely hasn't. Dogecoin definitely hasn't. Tron definitely hasn't. Chainlink definitely hasn't. Chainlink's all-time high was 51. I think the highest that thing got was 25 this cycle. Stellar has none of these tokens. Litecoin's all-time high is 400. I think it got close to 200 this cycle. None of these tokens this cycle, and we're deep into the cycle. We're coming up on a year post-halving. The halving was almost a year ago, and none of these tokens have hit all-time highs. And you have a lot of the penetration of the meme coins taking money out of the traditional crypto space. Making money in a portfolio that's crypto heavy and not Bitcoin heavy has been extremely difficult this cycle. Me and Troy offline, we compare our portfolios, and my portfolio is obviously down a little bit because Bitcoin's under its all-time high. But Troy's portfolio is very, very, very cut down from the action of this cycle because of the volatility to the downside of crypto. And it's like, we keep trying to tell you, it's like Bitcoin only, like buy Bitcoin, hold it over a long period of time, and you'll be fine. And you got people coming into this cycle or coming into this market that are just trying to trade their way up the ladder, and they go to zero. They just leverage trade to zero, or they buy in some bullshit token. It doesn't do what they want to do. They buy some ETH or they buy some whatever token. It doesn't move fast enough, and then they leverage it on a Bybit or one of these other leverage exchanges, and then before you know it, they have nothing. And the argument always for Bitcoiners that do shitcoin is like, well, I'm trying to buy some, like, get a 10x in a token to make more Bitcoin. It's like almost everybody that tries to do that strategy of using shitcoins to leverage their way up to Bitcoin ends up with less Bitcoin at the end. They end up having to buy Bitcoin at a higher price because they lost all their money trying to shitcoin their way up, and then they just have to buy Bitcoin at a higher price because they realize that it's just better off just buying Bitcoin. Yeah. It's unfortunate.
I mean, I'm looking at it from a weird standpoint. Like, let's say I'm 30 and I'm going to look at investing or whatever it might be. I feel like I'm going to be like, let's say it wasn't right now because Bitcoin's pretty good right now. If let's say it was a year ago, where were you a year ago roughly?
What do you mean?
What was the price a year ago?
A year ago from now?
No, from a year ago. Where was it about a year ago right now? Let's say it was a year ago before, because it obviously had a really good year.
I'll tell you exactly.
Year for Bitcoin. So I'm just thinking of it from the standpoint of like, and you talked about this last week, the people that invested in like 2000.
65,900.
Yeah. I mean, so if you had bought it a year ago, you had a good year. You know what I mean?
You're up almost 30K.
And it's like the argument that you said last week where you talked about the people that had invested in 2000 versus the people who started investing in 2008 who were better off in some ways. Because they didn't have the dip of 2008. If they started investing after that, they started buying, during the crash and shit of 2008, like you did well. And that's kind of like, so obviously everybody, that if people listen to this podcast often, they know that I have a lot of 403B stuff from my years as a public educator, and that money's sitting there. And I've moved some of it, and I've done some things to protect it better as much as I can within that system. And I'm not going to go and panic. And there's nothing I can do. Like, I literally just have to ride this like I rode the shit in 9/11 and then rode the shit again in 2008. And I just know it's going to happen again. And, like, the goal is for me to not have to pull that money. So hopefully by the time I really need that money or want to use that money, that I can't count on it. Like, and that's the thing with some of this stuff. Like, if you're building your life around, you're going to live off of it, I think that's kind of like, or you got to be really, it's got to be a full-time job. Like, it's either, you know what I mean? Like, either if you're just going to be a casual guy and you're going to look at it a couple times a day, or Pi, where you're going to click the button so you make a few coins or whatever that shit is, like, unless you're really doing it, like, and you really are getting to that 10,000 hours of knowledge, like, I think it's going to be tough for you. Like,
of course.
And that's kind of why, like, everybody I know, like, I have all my teacher friends, and they're like, oh my God, did you look today? And I'm like, no, because there's nothing I can do about it. And I don't need it today. Like, I don't need it right now. It's there down the road. And I'm older. I'm 58. But I'm trying to not pull that. I just have to understand that's the nature of this. And if I didn't want to play this game, then I should have done something else with it. I should have bought real estate or whatever the heck. I don't know what else it would have been, but I should have done something else with this money. I just put it in a traditional savings account. I don't know. But, like, there's no good answer. Yeah, I had a really good couple of years, so hopefully I don't lose everything I lost in the last couple. I don't know. Like, and I think that's the problem. Like, unless you're really, really into this and you're really spending the time, I just don't know how you manage some of these other coins that you're been talking about today.
Let me home stretch this with what happened on Sunday. That really just, for me, solidified the position of this administration and what we're going to be seeing Can you pull that chart back up for me? Because I'm gonna share this this tweet by. So Trump is posting mostly on Truth Social. He doesn't post as much on X, but this is Eric Trump, his son, that reposted his Truth Social post. So the original post on Sunday by Trump on Truth Social: a U.S. crypto reserve will elevate this critical industry after years of corrupt attacks by the Biden administration, which is why my executive order on digital assets directed the president working group to move forward on a crypto strategic reserve that includes XRP, Solana, and ADA. I will make sure the U.S. is the crypto capital of the world. We are making America great again. And if you take a look, an hour later, somebody must have said, hey, dickhead, you didn't put Bitcoin or Ethereum on there. So he put, and obviously BTC and ETH as other available cryptocurrencies will be at the heart of the reserve. I also love Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then Eric Trump, who tweeted this: I love the genius of announcing a strategic reserve on a Sunday when traditional markets and Wall Street sleeps. For the first time, retail investors win. Traditional finance better catch up or it will quickly become extinct. The world no longer runs on a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Now, I do agree on the essence of that tweet, but the problem is before this tweet, Bitcoin was trading at about 82,000. Ethereum was at about 2,100. Literally minutes. I'm saying like 10 minutes after this tweet came out, Bitcoin had rocketed up to about 94,000 from 82, and Ethereum had went from 21 to about 25. And some of the other tokens that did stuff too, but I wasn't really paying too much attention to those. I see ETH because it's right under Bitcoin, so I can see the two of them. But it literally,
the premise of his statement that nobody's paying, like that companies aren't paying attention to what happens on Sundays, that is from 1995. Like, there used to be a thing in the news, and I'm obviously I worked in broadcasting in a weird way as a teacher, and like there used to be what they used to call the Friday night dump. Where, like, if you wanted to drop a news story, you would drop it on Friday because nobody would know, because nobody was paying attention on Friday. That ended when we had this new thing that's very new to the world called social media. Like, I'm sorry, like, everybody knows everything now. Like, there's nothing that goes on for more than a couple hours that we don't know about because of 500 different social media platforms and guys that are out there talking about this shit. Everybody knew about this as soon as he said it. Because it spread like wildfire. I'm not even that big of a coin guy, and I know that happened. And I'm not following it, and it's just popping up on my socials. Like, it's a weird statement to make. Like, I don't think there's any genius of dropping it on Sunday.
yeah, I'm trying to find a, maybe it's in my replies. I think I'm trying to find a tweet from Peter Schiff. He made a good tweet on. I don't agree with Peter Schiff on most things because he's such a gold maxi and he hates on Bitcoin, and it's usually stuff I'm retweeting of his to make fun of things that he says. But this tweet that he made in regards to Trump's tweet was spot on, and I'm probably not going to be able to find it now, unfortunately.
What was the essence of what he said? What was it just kind of...
Let me see if I can find it. He called out the Trump administration and said that there needs to be an investigation into. Yeah, I don't know where it is. I don't know where I. He basically said that the fact that, because what ended up happening was to bring it full circle, Monday morning, the markets went right back down to where they were before his tweet.
Right.
And then because everything's on the blockchain, you can see the movement that Trump and his team had bought certain tokens right before the announcement. And then probably sold and made a shit ton of money, or just like leveled themselves up, which is what they probably did. Like sold and then bought more whatever positions because they knew that.
The point that I made earlier is that you've got to find a way to like control this shit, because it just, people within authority can have way too much. You know, they can manipulate it for their own, because they have the power of the bully pulpit. Like, he can literally go out in there and say something that he knows is going to affect any president. I'm going to pick on Trump. Any president can do this. Like, Elizabeth Warren can do this. They can go out, tell their financial advisor to go do something, then go make a press conference, and then literally and have it all planned out. And they do this. Like when you look at the value of some of these politicians, the amount of money that they have.
I found it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I found it. Here it is. I'm gonna put it up.
Yep.
Donald Trump. This is Peter Schiff. Donald Trump, the first crypto president, just helped pull off the biggest crypto rug pull of all time. A congressional investigation is now warranted to find out the following regarding this pump and dump scheme. Who authored the 2 Sunday afternoon posts on the president's Truth Social account? Who knew about the first post in advance? And when were they first informed of the wording of the post and the timing of its release? How much money those with advance notice spent buying XRP, ADA, SOL, BTC, and ETH? And if they sold, the exact timing of those sales and those proceeds that were received. We also need all emails and text messages that involve any members of the president's staff, his or their family or friends, his campaign donors, or Truth Social employees that relate to either of the 2 Sunday Truth Social posts. I 100% agree with that tweet.
And this
Spot
is
on.
what I've always talked about.
Spot on.
That I agree. Like that's and again, this is why I always felt like and I don't know how you do it. Because these people will just get richer, 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 and I don't care if you're a congressman or a senator or department chair. They all turn it in. They all turn it into a big house in the Hamptons, so to speak. Like they all do this shit, and it's just really obnoxious to me. I mean, I don't know. Like
Here's
I got so mad I was pushing the wrong buttons. Over
there's 2 takes on this too on this tweet, like 2 separate takes. One from a crypto guy and one from a Bitcoin maxi. The crypto guy, Dan Gambardella, who actually is a decent follow, and he does have a lot of good information, but he shitcoins. His response was, would be so awesome if you took your blinders off and understood the new technological area that the world is entering. Trump just put the U.S. ahead. A better post would probably be to thank him. I mean, can you be any more tone deaf on like what he's calling out? Like, it doesn't matter if he's pumping your back. Like, the fact is, like, that tweet made my portfolio move the price of a car in one direction up. But I can divorce myself from the amount of money that I made on paper to see that was completely wrong of a world leader to intentionally pump prices, probably for him or somebody close to him to profit off of. That's completely unethical. Then you have a Bitcoiner right underneath who, again, like me, Magoo PhD is always throwing shit at Peter Schiff. And he said, unfortunately, Peter is not too far off bad here, which saddens me that this administration is lighting their pockets with shitcoin behavior. I mean, that's exactly how I feel. Spot on. Like,
well, you made a statement earlier that he's a grifter, and this is improved. What is?
2 days before his inauguration, he's launching a meme coin. A day before, his wife launches a meme coin. And then he does this on a Sunday and gyrates markets in 2 directions, which anybody that's tied to them was doing any sort of leverage trading in either direction. Leveraging up would have made insane amounts of money, and then leveraging down would have made insane amounts of money on one basically one post. It's sickening. Let's talk about this real quick. What do we got? Like 10 minutes left? 7 minutes? Breaking. Thomas Massie introduces bill to end the Fed. This would help heal not just America, but the entire world. Thomas Massie, representative, I just reintroduced End the Fed. Federal Reserve Board Abolition Act, HR 1846. Americans would be better off the Federal Reserve did not exist. The Fed devalues our currency by monetizing the debt, causing inflation. I've been very vocal on how I feel about the Federal Reserve and the Fed. I hashtag that all the time on X. I think the Federal Reserve is one of the main reasons why we have wealth inequality. It's not tax the rich. It's not all this other nonsense that the media will try to tell you. Everything ties back to the dollar homogeny. Everything ties back to the fact that the United States dollar is the world reserve currency. That is the reason why we have such high wealth inequality. The Federal Reserve is the catalyst for that. Ending the Fed will be the first step in ending the wealth inequality in the United States as well as the world. Full stop. All right, we'll end on a British HODL tweet. British HODL. He is obviously British, hence the name. He tweeted something pretty good that I want to end the podcast on sharing with you guys today. His tweet, the one thing Bitcoiners have been shy to talk about, mostly because people don't really understand income markets. Evidenced by the level of conversation there was and now is about MicroStrategy is income. It's philosophy in Bitcoin that all you must do is hold Bitcoin and then eventually borrow against it, and that's how you live. They believe that this is how wealthy people do it. The reality is that wealthy people take borrowing from their capital gains and buy income-producing assets, so in essence, the income is produced by an infinite yield. When you have income, you get the added benefit of being able to hodl harder and longer because you have no need to liquidate. If the goal of Bitcoin is to hold Bitcoin for as long as possible for the progeny and bloodline, then income has to be part of the conversation. Part of the reason why I've never had to sell a single Satoshi is because I have income from businesses and investments. I'll be discussing more about the importance of growing your income so you can hodl more. At the end of the day, selling Bitcoin to fund lifestyle in the name of hodling is actually not hodling Bitcoin. I want to hold Bitcoin as long as possible. And in order to do that, you need income that can come from many sources. Also, if you want to buy more Bitcoin, you need income. Income is very important also for people my parents' age, and I think it's a worthwhile discussion to have, so we'll have it. Good news is you can get income from Bitcoin-related things since we've Trojan horsed the fixed income and derivatives markets as a result of BlackRock getting in the game. HODL forever is the goal. And income is how you afford to actually do that. So I like his take. I like the tweet. I'm a Bitcoin hodler. I don't sell Bitcoin. I'll never sell Bitcoin. I've had a very volatile last year of my life, personally, income-wise, as I completely changed careers, as I went from a social work field to full-blown finance, and I had a drastic change in income, and many points in time in the last 14 months would have been beautiful opportunities for me to liquidate some of my Bitcoin to make things extremely easier for me, myself, and my family. However, my thesis on Bitcoin is going to make things so much better for my family in the future that I would cut off a limb and sell it, or sell one of my kidneys, as it's been going around on Bitcoin X, ironically enough, in order to satisfy my obligations, in order to not have to sell my Bitcoin, which goes back to the earlier conversation of people in crypto being so fiat minded that they're trading themselves right out of these gains. And even if any of these shit coins are going to actually get the 10x or 20x or whatever they may get in the top of this bull market that we're going to have in the next 6 to 9 months, if we get that, they're not even going to be around for, because they're doing all this nonsense on the side to try to make money instead of just buying whatever they believe in and then going. Here's the thing, like, just because we hold Bitcoin doesn't mean that we still don't have jobs that we're still paying our lives and our lifestyles for and buying more Bitcoin with. We're not buying more Bitcoin to sell the Bitcoin to fund the lifestyle. No, we earn the income in whatever way that we earn it on the fiat-based side to both fund our lifestyle as well as add more sats. We don't sell sats to fund the lifestyle. That's not how any of this works, and that's how a lot of people are getting things wrong. The fiat-based mindset of, I'm going to buy Bitcoin at 90 and sell it at 200 and then buy back in when it goes down to 100. It's no. You fund your lifestyle with whatever job or thing that you do on the side, buy more sats, watch that grow for the future, and then fund your lifestyle with whatever thing you're doing to get your fiat money in the fiat-based world. We said a lot today. We talked about a lot. Tomorrow will be interesting to see. I'm very interested to see how this crypto conference shakes out. I'm also interested to see, as it's going, how it affects the markets. The weekends have been kind of wild to watch. Boys and girls, just buy Bitcoin and hold Bitcoin. Don't do anything stupid. Your kids will thank you. Your grandkids will thank you. And at the end of the day, as we always say, in life, no matter if it's talking about Bitcoin and crypto or it's talking about real life people, circumstances, and situations, don't trust, verify. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Peace.